Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Monday edition of Source 16 News. I'm Eddie Owen. Thanks for joining us. Topping our news, a Fort Campbell infantryman was killed during an attack in Afghanistan over the weekend. Fort Campbell officials report 22-year-old Specialist Rafael Neves Jr. of Albany, New York, died Sunday of wounds suffered when enemy forces attacked his vehicle with small arms and rocket-propelled grenade fire while on a mounted patrol in Paktika province. Neves was assigned to B Company, 1st Battalion, 506th Infantry Regiment, 4th Brigade Combat Team. He joined the Army in August 2009 and arrived at Fort Campbell in December of that year. It was a deadly weekend in Christian County. We now have complete details in a story we first brought you Friday night at 10 regarding an Amish girl that was killed after a semi crashed into the horse-drawn buggy she was riding in. Hopkinsville police say 3-year-old Barbara Smoker of Herndon was killed around 8:30 Friday night when the horse-drawn buggy she was riding in was hit by a tractor-trailer driven by 52-year-old Mark Bohms of Illinois. Police report Bohms was reaching for a cigarette as he traveled north on Fort Campbell Boulevard, and when he looked up, he saw the buggy and tried to change lanes, but hit the buggy from behind. The other 3 passengers in the buggy, 58-year-old Abram Smoker, 57-year-old Susie Smoker, and 15-year-old Katie Smoker, all of Herndon, were also injured. As we reported Friday night, 2 of the family members were life-flighted to Vanderbilt University Center in Nashville. A 3rd family member was taken to Jenny Stewart Medical Center. Bohms was arrested by police and charged with driving under the influence for allegedly using prescription drugs. He was later charged with murder, criminal mischief, and 3 counts of assault. He's currently being held in the Christian County Jail without bond. On Saturday, police reported that Abram and Susie Smoker were listed in stable condition, and the 15-year-old girl was listed as critical. One of the 2 horses pulling the buggy was also killed in that accident. Meanwhile, a Hopkinsville man was killed over the weekend when the Jeep he was riding in flipped over on Katie's Road. Hopkinsville police report 60-year-old Stephen Haney died after being injured in the wreck that occurred in the 2200 block of Katie's Road around 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Police say 48-year-old Gary Dixon of Hopkinsville was driving westbound on Katie's Road, towing a trailer with a boat when the trailer began to sway and he lost control of the vehicle. According to police, Dixon's Jeep ran off the road into a ditch where it overturned. Dixon, along with 11-year-old Devin Russell and 14-year-old Lexi Bernal, were all ejected from the vehicle. Haney, the front seat passenger, was the only person not ejected in the accident. Dixon, Russell, and Bernal were transported to Jenny Stewart Medical Center for treatment of injuries. Well, after 4 mistrials, the U.S. Army has now charged a Fort Campbell soldier with 2 counts of premeditated murder in the deaths of his ex-wife and former mother-in-law. Over the weekend, Army officials charged Sergeant Brent Burke in the September 11, 2007 shooting deaths of Tracy Burke and her ex-mother-in-law, Karen Comer, at Comer's Rineyville home. Burke has been placed in pretrial confinement at a civilian confinement facility and will face an Article 32 investigation, which requires a thorough and impartial investigation of charges and specifications before they may be referred to a general court-martial. A Hardin County prosecutor last month dropped murder charges against Burke. After 4 mistrials, civilian prosecutors were unable to prove the military police officer committed those murders. A Kentucky Transportation Cabinet contractor today started to remove a collapsed bridge in Graves County. The Kentucky 1241 bridge over the Mayfield Creek in the Leader Bottom area, just south of the Graves-McCracken County line, was closed in April after debris from floodwaters collected on the bridge pier and damaged the structure. On June 26, the 160-foot-long 3-span structure collapsed into the creek. Wilkins Construction Company was awarded the contract and has 10 days to remove debris around the fallen bridge and then 45 days to demolish the concrete bridge deck structure and remove it. The bridge was constructed in 1927 and was already on track to be replaced in the next few years. Now, due to the length of the bridge, engineers estimate the replacement cost at approximately $1 million. Hundreds of Fort Campbell soldiers on Friday honored 65 fallen 2nd Brigade Combat Team soldiers who were killed in combat last year. Officials unveiled a permanent monument, which they say will now serve as a reminder that freedom isn't free. Following the unveiling, family members of each soldier had the opportunity to walk up to the monument and pay their respects to their fallen hero. Meanwhile, Jean Weaver, whose son, Lieutenant Todd Weaver, was killed in Afghanistan last year, donated a painting she painstakingly created.
And I just believed that it belonged here at the 101st at Fort Campbell. And I mentioned this to Colonel Flynn, and he was in agreement to accept the painting for the 101st. And I'm just so happy that they were so willing to have it. And the purpose of it is to give it to the 101st in memory of Todd and all the fallen soldiers of the 101st who have lost their lives to this war.
2nd Brigade Combat Team Commander Colonel Arthur Kandarian told the crowd on hand, the soldiers who died gave their lives not because they hated what stood in front of them, but they gave their lives willingly because they loved what was behind them. A 25-year-old Clarksville man was charged with DUI after he flipped his vehicle several times on Needmore Road early this morning. Clarksville police say Vaughn Melendrez was driving north on Needmore Road around 2:30. When near Cabana Drive, his car ran off the road, hit several ditches and mailboxes, and then overturned numerous times before landing on its roof. According to police, some residents heard the wreck and ran out to get Melendrez to help him get out of the smoking car, but he was already out of the car, sitting in a driveway with cuts on his head and arms. The 25-year-old reportedly told officers that he'd been at a bar drinking prior to the crash. He was transported to Gateway Medical Center in Clarksville for treatment. 2 Illinois residents were injured in a rollover wreck on the Western Kentucky Parkway in Hopkins County Saturday afternoon. 20-year-old David Perkins of Willow Springs was driving east on the parkway when near the 33-mile marker, he told state police, a small animal ran into the road and he swerved to avoid hitting it, causing his vehicle to run off the road and overturn and land upright in the eastbound lanes. Perkins and his 60-year-old passenger were transported by ambulance to Regional Medical Center in Madisonville for treatment. The Kentucky Public Service Commission today renewed its warning against copper theft. The renewed warning comes after a 22-year-old McCreary County man was killed last week when he was electrocuted trying to allegedly steal copper from an East Kentucky Power Cooperative substation. Although the number of fatal incidents has declined in recent years, PSC officials say copper theft remains a problem for electric and telephone companies across the state, with regular reports of theft resulting in service disruptions. According to officials, copper theft began increasing with rising prices for the metal about 5 years ago. In 2006 and 2007, at least 6 electrocutions in Kentucky were the result of copper theft. When the price of copper fell dramatically in 2008, so did the number of thefts. But in the last 2 years, the price for copper has rebounded, and it's now higher than it was in 2006. PSC Chairman David Armstrong said the crime poses a threat to more than just the perpetrators. It endangers utility companies and members of the public as well. And he adds there are a number of good reasons not to attempt stealing copper, but the most important are that it is illegal and you can get killed. Well, this year's Click It or Ticket enforcement effort, coordinated by the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety, resulted in over 21,000 motorists being cited for not buckling up. The campaign's main objective was to encourage seatbelt usage through enforcement of Kentucky's seatbelt law. In this process, officers at 825 traffic safety checkpoints throughout the Commonwealth also made over 1,300 drunk driving arrests, over 1,300 felony arrests, and over 1,100 drug arrests. Police also recovered 80 stolen vehicles and apprehended 2,003 fugitives. Over 10,000 drivers were cited for speeding, 579 for reckless driving, and over 6,800 people were cited for not having proof of automobile insurance. Despite Kentucky's primary seatbelt law, the state remains below the 84% national seatbelt usage rate at 80%. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, seatbelts, when worn correctly, are proven to reduce the risk of fatal injury to front seat occupants by 45% and by 60% in pickup trucks, SUVs, and minivans. The annual campaign, supported by more than 240 state and local law enforcement agencies, was held May 23rd through June 5th. Meanwhile, Kentucky State Police in Mayfield have launched a new enforcement initiative. Earlier this month, troopers began the TACT High Visibility Enforcement Program. TACT stands for Ticketing Aggressive Cars and Trucks. This enforcement mobilization focuses specifically on the reduction of commercial motor vehicle collisions. TACT runs through the end of August on roadways with a high volume of commercial vehicle traffic. During this time, state police will be working extended hours on designated roadways in an effort to observe moving hazardous violations like speeding, DUI, following too closely, careless driving, and improper lane use committed by cars around trucks, trucks around trucks, and trucks around other motor vehicles. Well, here's a look at some upcoming chamber events brought to you by the Hopkinsville Christian County Community Vision Plan. One of the chamber's newest members, Jackson and Schalk Attorneys at Law, will host a ribbon cutting Friday at noon. That'll be at 28A Main Street in Cadiz. Jenny Stewart Medical Center, along with New Wave Communications, is sponsoring an eye-opener breakfast at the Holiday Inn. That'll be tomorrow morning at 7:30. And a teacher appreciation breakfast and staff appreciation luncheon will be held Monday, August 8th. That will be presented by Murray State University. A highlight of each event will be a video featuring nominees for the Teacher Staff of the Year Awards. For more information or to sponsor a table, contact Cammie Evans at the Chamber, 270-885-9096. These chamber events are brought to you by the Hopkinsville Christian County Vision Plan.